Yesterday, I gave my friend Carrick over at Crash Course Cryptozoology a big scoop. I told him what my new book is all about, and now I'm going to tell you. I've been hesitating long enough because I'm scared. I'm scared. The last man to touch this, well, he didn't touch it. He came near it. The last man to come anywhere near this was destroyed by the state, by the national authorities of the time. First, they decorated him, highly decorated him with the Order of the Rising Sun. Then they thought about it. They realized the ramifications of his discoveries, and they persecuted him to death for, quote, heresy, unquote. Now, both reactions, the decoration, the adulation, and the persecution to death, both of those were on orders from the Prime Minister's office. They had to be. Now, this is the space into which I am stepping. And what we have discovered, if I may say so, dwarfs everything that Mr. Sakai discovered. All respect to him. We stand on his shoulders, but not really. We've made parallel but different discoveries, and we took independent paths to get there from independent starting points. But his discoveries are related to ours and inform ours, and ours his. And it's not a contest who has the bigger discoveries. But yes, I think our discovery is, well, I don't want to compare. You can do that yourselves. But our discovery is huge. Mount Hiba, well known as one home ground of the Hibagon, popular name for the Japanese Bigfoot or Sasquatch. Less well known as the final resting place of the Japanese Mother Goddess, the Japanese Mother of all living. Basically the Japanese equivalent of Eve, of Adam and Eve. They call her the goddess Izanami. She lived, died, and was buried on Mount Hiba. Entombed is a better translation. Whenever I get around to it, I'm going to do my own translation, or paraphrase. This is, of course, the Kojiki, the 1919 Basil Hall Chamberlain translation, and that is the oldest text, the Kojiki, the oldest text in the Japanese language that survives to this day. It was presented to the then Empress in 517 AD. 517. English, in which I speak to you today, was not even invented yet. The Kojiki, the record of ancient matters, matters ancient already in 517 AD. Here is the tomb. I don't know why my computer is talking Portuguese or whatever that is, but that is the imperial tomb, property of the imperial household, property of the emperor. Friends, that's not the tomb. That right there is a case of mistaken identity. I can prove it, and I do prove it. I'm sorry to say, but millennia of Japanese tradition are wrong, dead wrong. The thousands of pilgrims who come to pray here every year are wrong. The Shinto priests, forgive me, are wrong. the palace ministers and advisors, the imperial household servants are sadly wrong. This is not the tomb of Izanami. No. It isn't even a tomb. Now, you could call that pretty bold talk for a four-eyed fat man. I know. Well, fill your hands, you son of a... Look. The tomb is here on Mount Hiba. I have found it. But this is not it. I have 30 pieces of evidence, over 30 pieces of evidence for this claim. I will give you 2 in this little preview. And these 2 are all you need. The Kojiki itself, our source text, nobody reads it, of course, or if they do, they don't expect to learn anything from it, but a careful study, a very careful reading where you approach it as the student. The Kojiki is the teacher. You let it talk, and you let it interpret itself, much the same way as I read my Bible. Although I don't believe everything here, but much as you read any historical document, you don't impose your own prejudices and modern definitions. You read exegetically. When you do that, not that anybody does that, the Kojiki itself disqualifies this so-called tomb, this traditional tomb, and correctly identifies, it points right to, the true tomb. And that's all you need. I suspected this last winter when we made it into the colossal solar calendar. I didn't want to say anything about it then until I'd looked into it thoroughly. But look, who puts so much effort into a colossal solar calendar big enough to hold 12 Great Pyramids of Giza, but he puts so little effort into the tomb of not just anybody, the mother goddess? Here's the tomb of a local guy, maybe a local chief or boss hog, whose name is now forgotten, down here in Bingo, Akasaka. Look at this thing. This is for some random guy. His beautifully built tomb could contain 54 picnic table-sized slabs, single slabs, single, simple, rough, uncarved slabs, which is all that the mother goddess got. Get out of here. No. The scale of the colossal solar calendar, the scale of your average tomb, this is not a goddess level and mother of all living level tomb. It just isn't. The colossal solar calendar actually points to the true tomb, if you can read it. It points to a colossal tomb of which the solar calendar is a feature, an ornament. And now, when you see that, now everything slides into a proper, matching perspective. I said to Ryoichi, you know and love Ryoichi, I said to him in the spring, based on what we know of megalithic tombs, based on the tombs that we have crawled into and explored. There are two standard designs in this region: a common Orthodox design and what I take it to be a later dissenting breakaway design. Call it the Protestant design. I said to Ryoichi, if two fellas took that standard Orthodox design and went up to Mount Hiba and looked here. I put my finger on the computer monitor. I almost poked a hole through my computer monitor. And I said, do you think two guys just might find the doorway? 'Cause it should be right here, if there is one. But who would go and look? Who would be so foolish to try something so simple, so childish, really? Well, Ryoichi and I are at least that foolish, so we came, we looked, we found it. We found an entrance just like this, but closed, still closed. The oblong blocking stones are stacked up against the doorway. The doorway is carved. It is symmetrical. It looks like a Gothic archway. I know that's an anachronism, but that's what it looks like. Guys, who on earth, what are the odds that someone is going to predict a doorway at a certain spot on a mountain, go there, look there, and find it in under an hour? The possibility that we are mistaken, well, it must be something greater than zero, but I can tell you practically it is as good as zero. You don't predict a doorway in a mountain and go there and climb up to it or down to it and find, oh, just a random doorway into the mountain. Now, you don't need both of these pieces of evidence. Either one, just taken alone, is sufficient, and I have over 30. Speaking with native Japanese, they've never read the Kojiki. They couldn't care less about that, but the doorway trick certainly impresses them. But here's what impresses them even more. At the end of the book, I have two chapters. One on the character etymology of Hiba, which is not even a word in Japanese. It's not even a name. It's just a sound. All the other features with names here have meanings behind them. Raven hat, standing raven hat, step of the pond, dragon lord, and so on. You can translate them. Hiba itself has no meaning in at least modern Japanese and is untranslatable. Well, I picked apart the characters and meaning and information spilled out. Spilled all over me. Nor is this my private interpretation. I put it under the examination of my licensed calligraphy teacher. She studied it. She agrees. Now, in the very last chapter, I look at the phonology of the name, and when I ask Japanese, Socratically, I ask them questions step by step. They give their own answers all by themselves. And after 4 or 5 steps, then they see what they themselves have answered. They see the revelation. Everyone gets extreme goosebumps and shivers. Some people hold themselves, kind of hold themselves and rock themselves. One girl cried. Now, I've been slow bringing this out to you. Number one, I am scared. I don't want my life destroyed. Number two, we are dealing with human remains, I believe. The tomb is sealed. I assume that the contents are intact. Grave robbers don't seal tombs back up. Grave robbers could dislodge the stones, but couldn't stack them back up. I even don't know any technology today that could do it. You couldn't get a crane up there. So, possible human remains. I don't want to do anything disrespectful or certainly illegal. Part of me wishes I could walk away from this story, just ignore it. But then I would have to live with being a coward and a hypocrite. Now to the coward charge, I admit I'm scared. But I criticize academics and institutions who cover things up, hide, make to disappear important information, and our own heritage from us. I can't do that. This is a world historical discovery. I declare it. It belongs to you. It belongs to everyone. People of Earth. First of all, in my opinion. So I'm bringing it out, first of all, in English. Second, it will come out in a Japanese translation, abridged, more polite, claims made with less boldness. The first copies of that will be sent to the Emperor as next of kin, to the Mayor of Shobara, Mount Hiba is in his jurisdiction, and to the Hiroshima Prefectural Library, who have already arranged to deposit it in their permanent collection. Now, this Japanese translation will take a little time. Meanwhile, if I died today, if I fell off a cliff or got hit by a bus today, this discovery would pretty much die with me. A handful of people here know about it, but they're not going to take up the flag and make it public. They're not stupid. They don't want to be destroyed. So I am going ahead with the English language book first. The PDF ebook, which I will control, will be an expanded version. I will release it to people I know, or people at least people I can try to vet. The standard public version will be in paperback, and it will come out a little later. The slimmer, drier, politer Japanese version will come out just as soon as it is ready. Now, I'm taking a team to Mount Hiba this month. I want one final ultimate proof for me, if only for me. Because once news of this thing reaches the palace or the Prime Minister's office, you can bet that I will probably be moved back behind the velvet rope or the police tape like anybody else. Before that happens, you can understand I don't want to file a false report to the Emperor. I'm sure, I'm 99.9% certain. Well, I'm 100% certain, but someone else in authority maybe between me and the Emperor might be less than 100%. He might request that last 0.1. So I'm going to try to get that for him. This varmint hunt is becoming very, very expensive. So here's where I beg. If you can help, every donor will receive the PDF ebook, the expanded ebook. And there is no minimum donation. If you cannot donate, if you're broke like me, I know some of you are, no problem. Write me, request the ebook. Of course, I will share it with you. We're friends. But if you can help, oh, please help. Please help now. We had 3 donors donate to our last big expedition last year. You 3, you know who you are. You have your commemorative handmade expedition donor bracelets, custom made for each of you, handmade by our elder daughter. You 3, I want you to know, are already scheduled to receive the PDF ebook later this month, after this month's expedition, with that expanded material. The same people, I don't want the same people to have to donate every time. And of course I'm grateful, but you don't have to. And going forward, I think I'm going to keep a list of donors who donate over a certain amount. And I'll put you on a special mailing list. Now please, nobody jump on my head over this. Nobody try to make me feel guilty about this. I have young children. I can't afford to have their lives destroyed. I can't afford to be deported. So there are some things that I can't afford to make public. I'll put them in private videos, and I'll share the URLs privately, and maybe make them public later, when the horse is out of the barn. But look, I don't want to draw a map for tomb robbers. A dummy's guidebook, how to raid the tomb of the mother goddess. You go ahead and raid it and let me take all the blame. I hope you understand. Okay, that's the book. That's the first preview. Thank you for your time. I love you. I love you more if you donate. No, I'm just kidding. I love you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.